Okay, the next film I'm reviewing is so insanely mind-blowing that it's just far beyond rationality, but I loved it. And I'm talking about Sam Raimi making another true horror masterpiece entitled Drag Me to Hell. Going into this movie, despite Raimi's name being on it, I wasn't looking forward to it. The genre of horror, for the most part, has let me down greatly over the last 5 years or so, with two major exceptions being the first Saw film and The Devil's Rejects. But I could not believe what I was seeing here, a mix of horror, self-satire, scariness, over-the-top humor that I have not seen in a horror film since 2001's Ginger Snaps. This is one of the smartest films I have ever seen in this genre. I should have known that Sam Raimi would give us something exactly like this, because the Evil Dead films that he did back in the 80s had all those same mannerisms. It did the exact same thing. But that was nearly 2 decades ago. That's why I was skeptical going into this film. Raimi has since tried to direct many different kinds of movies, including chick flicks, and of course is more recently known for directing all three of the Spider-Man films. The story here now revolves around Christine Brown, played very well by Alison Lohman, who really steps out of her usual zone here, which doing movies like Big Fish, Matchstick Men, and of course Family Fare like Flicka. She plays a young, successful accountant who is a nice girl stuck in a cutthroat job but still good at what she does. She seems to have the perfect life, including a college professor boyfriend played by Justin Long, who, even being 30, I still can't see him playing something like that because he still looks like he's 15. But either way, he's very comfortable in the role here and does a good job, as I still think he's very talented. Now, Christine is forced to evict an old woman, a wretched-looking thing named Mrs. Ganush. She's forced to evict her from her home, and after refusing to hear her pleas, she places a curse on Christine, setting off an adventure ride so wildly insane that had they gone one step further, it would have made my year's worst list rather than my best. And yes, that is how good this movie is. And if that analogy sounds nuts to you, well, this movie is nuts because it's supposed to be nuts and is downright clever doing it and doesn't fail. That is what I love about this film, and that is what I'll always appreciate about it. Now, another thing I want to point out is that, again, like I said, this could easily fail, but at the same time, it has such a sophisticated mindset and mentality to it that you just can't help but enjoy it. And even the plot makes sense. Even though it's so over the top, it makes sense. And it really builds the caring in its character. And those, my friends, are many elements that lack in many, many, many horror movies. Now, another element that lacks is that this film has effective scares that most horror films do not have. You think they're going to take you one place, but really, you're not ready for it, and they'll take you to another. It'll hit you big time. And its goriness, I mean, I describe it best as a B movie with a big budget. You'll look away, even though it's really not near as bad as the gore you get in films like Last House on the Left. But this film, unlike that film, has a purpose. This can also be described as an Evil Dead movie with a budget. Raimi is now immensely a millionaire thanks to the Spider-Man films, and does everything he possibly can do and doesn't cut corners. He wanted to desperately go back to his roots and do a great job doing it. Alison Lohman is very good here, but I also got to give credit to Lorna Raver, who plays Mrs. Ganush, a truly terrifying villain who is not just some actress vamped up in horror makeup. She truly looks terrifying, in addition to being very convincing and sounding terrifying. She's scary and at times very witty and funny, almost like a female Freddy Krueger. David Paymer is also very good here, playing Christine's boss, and is very, very good in the few scenes he has, bringing to life a background character that has no right to be interesting, but is, which in my opinion has been Paymer's specialty his whole career. Also, I gotta say that this film does not take itself seriously, but at the same time, it does. Does that not make sense? Well, hopefully you get what I'm trying to say. But how does Raimi get away with it? How does he pull it off? Simple. That's just how his movies roll. It's just as simple as that. He doesn't just justify these films to himself. He makes sure his audience will get their money's worth. And that's why Evil Dead still has its legacy, even after all these years. And that is also why even the first two Spider-Man films were amazing. This is scary. It's smart. It's well acted, downright hilarious, effective, and its ending does not disappoint at all, and it doesn't insult our intelligence. And that is the most important thing, and that is what most horror movies do these days. I took a lot of flack when I named Ginger Snaps the best film of 2001 above Lord of the Rings. Well, I'm going to take flack for thinking this movie is great because I'm sure I'll name it above movies that a lot of you will love, but I don't care. Tough. It's perfect in every way. The perfect 5 stars out of 5.